So I just had this idea whilst having a little early evening contemplate. I think meditation is when you're trying not to think, and contemplation is when you're trying to think about one thing. In both cases, without distraction. I've been trying to do both for many years, and I wouldn't say I'm that good at either of them. Nonetheless, the idea that came to me was this, that if you imagine reality as being just one thing, and that one thing is everything, and that everything is inside nothing. So everything is contained within nothing. And within that reality that is just one thing, you get or imagine that although there is only one thing, and we're going to call it one consciousness, although there is only one consciousness, that within that, for whatever mystical reason, there become bubbles of consciousness, bubbles of nothing within the consciousness. And those bubbles are like what the Asian Eastern religions call ego, which is kind of different from the Western 20th century take on it. But those bubbles are empty. They don't contain anything. And so this kind of analogy is like, it's directly analogous to the idea of emptiness in Buddhism, in Dharma. There is nothing to me, to this bubble of me that lasts a certain amount of time, and then it pops, and the bubble's completely gone. And there wasn't really anything to the bubble other than it being filled with nothing. And so all there is this one consciousness, but you get the bubbles of consciousness that emerge, exist for a bit, and pop. But they don't contain anything, and there's nothing in them that is any different from what is around them. And this is the idea of oneness. That it's hard for people when they're trying to understand this idea of Brahman. So the Hindu idea of Brahman is, especially in the Vedanta school of it, this idea is that there is just this one divine universal consciousness, and we are that consciousness playing a game or enacting a play that is being written as it is made. It's called Lilia or Lila, and it's this idea that the reason for the universe is so that this consciousness can exist in a different way to its kind of absolute sense. And it's kind of hard to grasp the idea, I think, of how can something be distinct if that's the dog there scratching. How can something be distinct if there is only one thing? And the answer, the answer is the imaginary emergent ego, but it's hard to grasp that. But when you grasp it, it kind of puts things in a better perspective. I think everyone agrees with that. When you realize that I digress. Let me go back a bit. So the idea of capturing that there can be one consciousness, but lots of different realizations of that consciousness. I think there's lots of different ways to explain it, but I think this idea of we are just bubbles that inevitably will pop, and we didn't used to exist, and once we popped, we won't exist, and we don't actually contain anything special, anything different from the ultimate consciousness. That so that means we are, literally everything and nothing, every one of us. Now, Nisargadatta Maharaj, who is a 20th century Vedanta philosopher, teacher, whatever he would be called, self-realized dude. One of my favorite quotes, and I might butcher it here, is, "My head tells me, it's wisdom tells me I am nothing. Love tells me I am everything. And between the two, my life flows." He might also have said it, "My head tells me I am nothing. My heart tells me I'm everything." I'm not sure. Either one, I think, does. And that realization of realizing that you are ultimately nothing, but also ultimately everything, is quite a good thing. Probably the best thing to try and seek, I think. And I think I'm going to leave this video just by saying pop.